Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long time. I've been extremely busy with work and real life and so much shit. But in any case, we are back, and today we have a very nice build for you as usual. At least I'm hoping you're gonna like it. It is, how shall we even call it? Fire Druid, Fuego Artist Druid, Holy Fire Druid. So many options, so many things going on. Let's break it down and check it out. Okay. You know the drill. I'm just going to go through all the talents, through all the build, and then explain the rotation a little bit, and you guys go ahead and have fun with the rest. Okay, the main two talents of the build, I would say, are Lunar and Solar Bomber. These, let's see, when you gain Eclipse Solar, you also gain Solar Bomber, which will increase the damage of your Starfire and Star Surge by 18 seconds. And when you gain Eclipse Lunar, you get Lunar Bomber, which increases Fireball and Pyroblast damage by 15%, stacking up to 5 times. So the way it works is in one Eclipse, you're going to ramp up and increase the damage of your next Eclipse. And during the Solar Eclipse, you're basically going to be doing Fire Mage Rotation with Fireball, Fire Blast, and as we saw, Pyroblasts with Starborn. And during the lunar eclipse, you're going to be doing balanced druid rotation, which is basically Astro Flare and Astro Plasma, making sure not to overcap certain other talents, such as Eclipse at Dawn, for example. This one, while Lunar Eclipse is active, you gain an instant Star Surge, and it stores up to 3 seconds. You want to try to save 3 charges as you're going out of Lunar Eclipse, so you still have some Star Surges ready, Instaproc Star Surges during the other Eclipse in order to get Elemental Equilibrium on, which we're going to talk about later. Hot Hands just makes your Pyroblast trigger Hot Streak as well. Moves out the rotation. Warden of Demon Reach, as we saw, combines quite nicely in the build. We have a lot of reset from the 2 out of 2 talent playing with fire, which reduces the cooldown of combustion. Starborn is a combustion. Basically, Warden of Demon Reach influences, together with its two epics, Gathering Will and Winter's Mantle, uh, changes your rotation so you alternate between Arctis and Fuego. And ideally, if you can press Starborn or in every single Arctis and Fuego in AoE, you should do it. But in single target, you generally get to press Starborn only on the Fuegos. There is not enough reset going on with the playing with fire talent, which reduces the cooldown of combustion. Righteous Radiance increases the Holy Fire damage. Basically, Holy Fire is really valuable given this talent, Divine Fury. 9% more magic damage, and with the REs another 6, so 15% more magic damage. And also Kindles for Holy Fire, which increases Holy Fire damage by 75%. Because we're playing a full fire rotation, this Starfire variant and this Astroplasma Star Surge variant, both are fire, so it contributes to stacks of Righteous Radiance. It ends up bringing huge value both in single target and in AoE. Let's see the single target test here. It was flat at 30k. We had Righteous Flames doing 6%, which is pretty good considering, and also adds 15% more damage. Flame On, I'm running not so much crit, so Flame On increases the crit chance of Fire Blast and our meteors inside the rotation. You can see we proc a bunch of meteors, Fire, Nature, and Frost meteors. So it is good, really good value for a single talent. Elemental Equilibrium, you want to try to have as high uptime on it as possible. You basically have to proc a Fire, Frost, and Nature. Your entire rotation is fire, and as Frost you have Glacial Fire, which is Holy Fire, and Arctis, which you can both use. And as Nature you have the instant cast Sunburst, which is still worth pressing in single target to proc Elemental Equilibrium. You can see even in single target it hits for 20k average, which is really good. The Fire version hits for 40k average. Obviously you want to prioritize that one. Legacy of the Arcanist, it is our Meteors. Spellslinger, Unbounded Spellslinger, just really nice value. 4% each in single target. It also gets buffed by this Druid talent, which also adds 10%. This is a huge talent. I'm only going to go through the legendary and epics and rares as usual. The rest of the ones you can figure out why they were chosen, obviously to scale up our spells. Harbinger of Flame, decent damage, combined with another epic, Burning Flames is 5% fire damage, so it's very nice. Kindles for Holy Fire we talked about, 75% Holy Fire damage. Consuming Flames, Ignite does more, because Astral Flare is Spellfire, it counts as arcane, so it does not get penalized, but it increases the Ignite damage nevertheless. Same with the Righteous Radiance from the 2 Holy Fires, so that is very nice. Natural Destruction, when you get Nature's Grace, so this is 20% haste from crits with Starfire and Star Surge. This also gives you Natural Destruction, and when you crit with Fireball and Pyroblast, it also gives you 20% haste. So it is very nice, clearly built talent for this spec. Clear Mind, another 5% spell haste when we have Elemental Focus, and also more mana cost reduction, which is very cool. Brand of the Pyromaniac, absolutely nutter in AoE, makes your combustion bounce around. Lunar Fire, absolutely necessary because it allows you to unlock the Eclipse Lunar using a Fire Blast and Fireball, which is smooths out your rotation an insane amount. And then the rest are kind of obvious. The only thing I did that maybe is unintuitive is I took a lot of spell crit modifiers. This is 5% damage, this is 5.25% damage. Vengeance is decent mana regen, and also a little bit of damage. And Shadow Power lastly also procs from the Holy Fire dot, so even more damage. Also a super important one to mention is Netherwind Presence for 9% haste just by casting Starfire and Star Surge, and this is the reason why you want to go out of Lunar Eclipse with some Star Surge procs remaining, so you can keep up this buff in case it falls off. Ideally I should be tracking it, but I'm just pressing Star Surge every once in a while, keeping it up. So this is kind of the build. This is the talents. Let's see what spells we took. Arcane Power, a cooldown obviously. Fireball, Summon Him, 5% fire, 5% fire crit. Fire Blast, this is a Starfire, this is a Star Surge. Focal Point for even more crit when you're playing with friends, very nice. And also you should card Focus Magic here. Twisted Mind, very huge value, 60 spell power, so 120 spell damage and 3% hit. Demonic Leap is nice to move around. Solar Beam, 4 Mythic Plus. Flame Tongue, Weapon Enchantment, Arctis. Something also interesting that is worth mentioning is I took all 4 of the Starfalls. The reason being is that each tick of Starfall counts as a direct damage, so it interacts with this talent, which ends up in AoE, reducing the cooldown of combustion by a surprising amount. And it also provides really nice uncapped AoE. The Arcane one, the Fire one, and the Frost one all get buffed by our talents. Even the Shadow one gets buffed by Earth and Moon. What else? Holy Fire, Barkskin defensive, Combustion, Starborn, very important. Scorched Earth for on the move. If you ever have to move, you don't have downtime. Astropalma is a Star Surge. Glacier Fire, the other Holy Fire. Smoke Bomb, defensive. Fuego, Shadowfall, Arcane Intellect, buff. Molten Armor, a little bit more crit. And for the super last one, Pyroblast is also useful, but is not absolutely necessary. However, sometimes when Starborn is about to come off of cooldown and you have a hot streak proc, you don't really want to press Fuego because you're going to swap to the Arctis and then you're going to be forced to Starborn with Arctis, which is not so worth it. So you might as well just press Pyroblast, keep your fire version of Warden of Demon Reach, and you end up, and you can use it to buff Fuego. So this is why Pyroblast is good. And for the absolute last talent, Focus Magic for even more crit. The issue with this spec, at the moment, the way I'm running it, is that it is kind of hard to get your hot streak procs going. However, once you're playing with friends and you get from here 6% and from there another 3%, so that's a 9%, it should be much easier. It gains really high value in group because you also bring Curse of Elements with the Sunburst. Okay. Lastly, for the REs, I went 3 times Moon Fury for Starfire and Star Surge damage. Fire Crit, 6%. Divine Fury, 6% magic damage. 6% Pyroblast damage, also pretty important. You can see Pyro is our number 1. And then Astral Flare, so Starfire and Star Surge are number 2. And lastly, I went fire modifier, so each of these are 1% fire for even more fire damage. You probably could go a demonic enchant, though I'm not sure which one you would be casting so much. You really are varying your rotation, so it's hard to decide on one that would provide enough uptime. I tried with the draconic Star Surge, and it did not provide so much value. I feel just the 1%ers are more solid. Okay. And for the gear, I'm running 10 storms, 8 set, and then just the highest budget pieces I have that get me close to hit cap. I should actually replace one enchant with the hit enchant. For the rotation, it is kind of complex because there's a lot going on. I don't even have it nailed down 100%, but the opener should be Fireball and Fire Blast. You should have a pre-stack of Warden of Demon Reach going. Ideally, that gives you a hot streak, and you can use your cooldowns and start your normal rotation. So if it doesn't give you a hot streak, you can start. Okay, we got it. So we use the rotation, and then we go Astral Flare, and we use some of our instant cast Eclipse at Dawn. We have 5 stacks. We drop Holy Fire. We swap our Fuego just to be safe. And now we are in the other rotation, where we're using Fireball. Again pressing Fuego. During this entire time I have not been using Elemental Equilibrium, so I'm kind of trash. But you can see that the damage is going kind of nice. Especially if you get good crits. Here I'm in fire, so I should be using the other one. Hmm. 34k. We're in the other one. I'm gonna use it with 6 stacks just to get it, and then I'm gonna empower this one, to be honest. Don't cap Eclipse at Dawn. Dump Holy Fire. Turn on Elemental Equilibrium. I always forget about this one, dude. So you can see, talking to you and chilling, the spec does like 32k-ish. So it's actually kind of nice. I think it has really good potential once you pump it up to the max. Here I want to use my Starborn. I'm gonna bait it with some Fire Blasts if we're getting. There we go, we got it, baby. And now I gotta swap to the other Eclipse. Turn on Elemental Equilibrium as well, which I always forget to turn on. So yeah, this is about it in a single target. I'm pretty sure you can get to 40k if you fully focus and pump the damage. Let's check out the breakdown. You can see Ignite is actually huge. Fuego, Unleash Fuego, Astral Flare, everything pumping and stacking together. Okay boys, for AoE I want to show you a video because there's a lot of shit going on and we're gonna pause it and talk about it. The main thing to keep in mind is during both eclipses, you want to be prioritizing Fire Mage rotation to get as many Fuegos and Arctices off all the time. And also you want to make sure that you're cycling through your Starfalls to get the cooldown reduction on Starborn as much as possible. So I open Scorched Earth, I get a hot streak proc, and I instantly press Starborn, and I used it with Fuego. Then you go and you press Astral Flare because I have the hot streak ready instead of Fireball, which I would normally use for a hot streak. And during AoE, you want to be spamming Sunburst instead of, what is that one called? Astral Plasma, because it is the AoE variant of Star Surge, of course. Other than that, there I'm not pressing. You want to use your thingies, your Arctices and Fuegos, and cycle through it and really try to buff your Fuego. Here I finally press both of these and you can see how fast my Starborn cooldown reduction goes down. I press it and I'm getting ready with it. And the nice thing about this is that it is uncapped. So I think most of it is uncapped. So it can ramp up quite hard once you get into the rotation. You can see here I'm doing like 100k on 6 targets. And it gets to sustain, I think, towards the end. Yeah, we're actually ramping up 114k. I stop at 108k. Do I check out the overall? And for the overall, I have it here actually. Hmm, I think it was this one. You can see Fuego is pumping super hard, and Sunburst as well in AoE is pumping super hard. Sunburst is amazing because it also applies to all the targets 10% more magic damage. Yeah, so this is a build, boys. After a long time, I hope this was sweet and short and you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more as usual. We have been fucking with a lot of things, but not a lot of payoff. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see what happens. Have a nice evening, boys. I'll catch you in the next one.